This is Tyler from Purple Sky Blues. Just going to kind of talk a bit about how I got into recording and other things like that. I don't know. I guess what mainly started was a lot of what Mike has already talked about when we were in bands together in high school. Recording was just kind of something we did constantly, I guess. You'd kind of use whatever you had at the time, you know. I can remember helping him and do like when we would record, I can remember him doing some overdubs using like a simple boombox. We'd just kind of do things like that just to kind of do it, just to kind of figure out how it was done. And you just learn so much on the fly working that way, because if you're not afraid to make mistakes, then you usually wind up learning from them. So we kind of started with that, and you know, eventually he got a 4-track, and I started using the 4-track to record my own stuff too. And as I kind of was doing that more and more and more, it became a bit of a songwriting tool. And eventually I think that he moved on to other things, and I just borrowed his 4-track constantly until finally I was able to buy my own. And then we just kind of, you know, swapped mics a lot, and I just kept recording songs. Anytime I could think of something, it just was right there, and it was so quick and so immediate. And I eventually moved to Portland in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, I want to say, and kind of continued this musical project, I guess you would call it. It's called Shallow Boy, and I kind of wanted to record my own album. The plan was just to record my own album on like a 4-track, because we had gone to Junior's Motel together, and I'd recorded about like 5 or 6 songs that way. And based on having already worked on my own on the 4-track, I kind of figured out, I was like, well, I could probably do this on my own if I wanted to. It might not be, you don't have quite the access to the level of quality equipment, but you can kind of find good workarounds if you just are willing to make mistakes and try different things and just a little bit of outside of the box thinking. So then I kind of upgraded from the 4-track to an 8-track cassette machine that I wound up using for, well, pretty much until about 2 or 3 years ago. And Shallow Boy, I've recorded like I think I'm working on my 14th Shallow Boy record right now, and I also started recording some ambient music under the name The Screaming Stars, and that stuff, at first it started out kind of similar, but it's kind of turned out to be quite the divergence actually in working that way. And again, learned a lot. There was briefly a phase in Shallow Boy where we kind of wanted to use string players. So I had to learn how to do string arrangement, because I kind of knew how to read music from initially learning the guitar, because my guitar teacher for some reason insisted that I learn to read sheet music. Most guitar teachers don't do that, they just have you go with tablature, and most people just read tablature who play guitar, but I actually remembered how to read music a little bit, and from there I was kind of able to figure out how to write it and notate it in the different clefs, like, you know, there's treble clef, alto clef, bass clef, and that was kind of an adventure recording all that stuff. We did a lot of it live, and yeah, so then from there it kind of became more of a solo thing, more of a solitary thing, and as that happened I started to do more and more layers, and then the 8-track became a little bit limiting. And at first I kind of thought that was a good way to, again, problem solve, but eventually what wound up happening is I would do digital editing, I would do digital layering, do some like digital submixing, and then just kind of put it all together later. So, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much it, I suppose. Yeah.
Great outro.
Yeah, thanks. I know. I was just like, I don't know what else to say. How long was that?